Your hips are holding on to a silent fear that no stretching session can fix. In fact, trying to stretch this area might be locking up your life even more. The sacrum is the vital bone, and as you know, it sits at the base of your spine. What you probably don't know is that, when shifted in the right way, it has the power to dissolve decades of stored trauma in just 1 minute. You're about to discover a vibrational safety code that deactivates your internal alarm system and gives your body permission to move forward. If you close this video now, you'll keep forcing an opening that your nervous system sees as a threat, keeping the rigidity alive that blocks your creative power from flowing. Get ready to stop pulling and start releasing for real. By accessing the exact point where your defense mechanism begins to let go. The stiffness you feel in your hips isn't just physical tightness or a lack of stretching discipline. It's a vibrational imprint of silent fear stored at the base of your spine, specifically in the sacrum. This bone isn't just structural support. It's the vital bone that acts as the gravitational center of your body. When it's blocked, it keeps your system in constant alert, preventing the feeling of safety from rising up through your body and allowing you to truly land in your life. In Hermetic traditions and somatic alchemy, this triangular area wasn't seen merely as mechanical support, but as the sacred axis or the lunar portal of will. It's the exact place where ancient memories of falling, humiliation, and loss of territory become imprinted in dense matter. Like a protective seal, your body, in its ancient wisdom, stores the threat directly in the bone to make sure you never again risk falling or being invaded. That's exactly why trying to stretch this area by force almost always fails, or even worsens the feeling of being locked up the next day, creating a cycle of frustration and pain. When you aggressively pull on tissues that are tight because of fear, not mechanical shortening, you trigger a primitive defense mechanism, the stretch reflex. It tells your muscles to contract even harder to avoid a potential tear. Polyvagal theory and the modern neuroscience of fascia reveal that, in a body already in a state of alert, any forced attempt to open up is read by the autonomic nervous system as an external threat, not as relief. Fascia, which is rich in sensory receptors, changes its viscosity and hardens, creating a biological armor around the sacrum. This is your body protecting life itself from a vulnerability it considers too dangerous to face. This matters deeply because, as long as your vital bone is operating in this hidden defense mode, your ability to make firm decisions, to sustain pleasure without guilt, and to fully take your place in the world will remain frozen like you're living, with the handbrake on at the very root of your being. There's someone who lived through this exact paralysis, who spent years trying to break through the rigidity with force until she discovered the secret of minimal movement. And her story will shine a light on exactly what you're feeling now. Susan, at 51 years old, had built a solid career as an intensive care nurse, sustaining the lives of strangers while her own body seemed to harden from the waist down. She spent 12 hours a day on her feet, in a constant state of alert. But it was when she got home and tried to sit on the couch that the real battle began. Her hips felt filled with concrete, a stiffness that radiated into her lower back and stopped her from relaxing, keeping her in a state of exhausting vigilance, even in the safety of her home. The sensation wasn't just physical. It was a silent fear of stopping, a deep inability to land in her own life and rest without guilt, as if something terrible would happen if she let go of control in her pelvis. For years, Susan tried to release that tension by forcing her body open. She went to yoga and Pilates classes focused on flexibility, pushing into pelvic openers and deep stretches that promised relief. But that inevitably left her even more locked up the next day. She didn't know she was working against her own physiology. Every time she aggressively stretched an area her nervous system had blocked for protection, her body responded with the stretch reflex, contracting even more to avoid a potential injury. The cycle of pain and the constant attempt to break through the stiffness left her exhausted, convinced that something was wrong with her anatomy. The turning point came on a sleepless night, when Susan came across an old text about the vital bone and the memory of falling. For the first time, someone wasn't telling her to stretch, but to stop fighting. Sitting at the edge of her bed, with her feet flat on the floor, Susan decided to try shifting instead of pulling. She opened her knees, let the weight of her torso drop, and instead of pushing, she simply allowed her sacrum to make a tiny movement backward, guided by gravity. In that exact moment, between the exhale and the minimal movement, she felt a shift in temperature at the base of her spine that she had never experienced before. Now, you're going to replicate exactly the ritual that allowed Susan's body to shut off the internal alarm. But you need to let go of any intention of doing a conventional physical exercise. Sit at the edge of a firm chair or a rigid sofa, making sure your sit bones, the sharp little bones in your butt, are planted like anchors into the surface. Spread your feet much wider than your hips, creating an opening that challenges your unconscious habit of closing your legs for protection. This deliberate vulnerability is essential because silent fear lives precisely in the automatic tendency to close the pelvis, guarding the vital center and the organs against an invisible threat. With your legs open and feet grounded, let the weight of your torso fall slightly forward. Keep your spine long. Don't collapse your back, but lean from your hip joints like a steady hinge. Bring all your awareness to the base of your spine, to the bony triangle located just above the tailbone. This is your sacrum, the vital bone that Hermetic traditions view as the anchor point of embodied will, and that neurobiology identifies as the gravitational center of your structure. Instead of trying to stretch or open the groin, imagine this bone has suddenly turned to lead, heavy and dense. Let gravity gently pull it backward and downward, creating a subtle space between it and the iliac bones of the pelvis. This is not a visible movement to anyone on the outside. It's an internal sensation of a gentle unlocking, as if you're creating air inside a joint that has spent decades compressed by the fear of falling. At this exact point, introduce the micro-articulation. Begin to rock your torso slightly forward and backward, so gently it feels more like a vibration or an intentional tremor. You're searching for the precise angle where the vital bone seems to float freely instead of feeling stuck in flesh. You are not stretching muscles. You are lubricating deep fascia with movement and presence. It's likely you'll feel some resistance at first, a reflex to freeze and return to your usual tension. Respect that. Don't push against the barrier. Just let the dead weight of your torso fall over your pelvis and keep the micro-rocking going, letting the sensory receptors in that region know there is no danger in letting go. Feel the warmth begin to rise, not from your skin, but from inside the bone. This is a sign that blood flow is returning to a territory that had lived in emotional ischemia. Before we add the breath that seals this shift, it's crucial that you understand what happened to Susan in the moment she stopped fighting her own foundation. When Susan allowed that micro shift, guided by gravity, sitting at the edge of her bed, after yet another exhausting shift, the sensation wasn't a mechanical pop. It was more like an internal dam, breaking silently. A liquid warmth, almost electric, rose up from the base of her spine and flooded her lower back, dissolving a cold plate of tension she had carried since the beginning of her nursing career. For the first time in years, she realized that her glutes and pelvic floor were not locked in defense while sitting. The internal alarm, the one keeping her sympathetic nervous system shouting danger even in the silence of her room, had simply switched off. The transformation in the days that followed was measurable and undeniable. The chronic exhaustion that drained her legs in the middle of hospital shifts disappeared, replaced by a strange and welcome sense of stability. But the real impact was in how she showed up for life. Susan was able to have a difficult conversation with her supervisor without shrinking or stumbling, feeling grounded, supported not by muscle tension, but by her own bones. The fear of taking up space, which she had assumed was a fixed trait of her personality, began to dissolve, because the biological root of that fear, a pelvis locked in defense, had shifted its configuration. What Susan accessed that night is exactly what your body is beginning to experience right now. Return to the sensation of the vital bone, heavy and shifted by gravity. With your legs still wide open in that deliberate position. Now we'll integrate the final element that rewrites the danger signal in your nervous system. Slowed breathing, focused on the exhale. Inhale through your nose to a count of 4, imagining the air dropping down and filling the empty space you just created in the center of your pelvis. Pause for a second. Now, release the air through your mouth very slowly, as if you're blowing on a candle without trying to put it out, counting to 6 or even 8. And as you exhale, let your sacrum sink even deeper toward the floor, surrendering the full weight of your structure to the chair. With each long exhale, visualize the silent fear, that vibration of alertness and contraction draining through your thighs, past your knees, and out the soles of your feet, melting into the earth. Repeat this breath cycle for at least 1 minute, keeping the micro-articulation going if needed. If you feel the urge to yawn, sigh deeply, or if your eyes begin to water, allow it immediately. These are classic signs of discharge from the autonomic nervous system, showing that you're moving from a state of defense into one of social safety and rest. Feel that by shifting your vital bone and extending your exhale. You're not just relaxing a muscle, you're sending a vibrational safety code to your primal brain, letting it know the war is over and it's safe to land. Mark this feeling in your memory, this warm, grounded, and expansive heaviness at the base of your spine. The physical marker that this transformation has taken place is unmistakable when you stand up. Your feet will feel more grounded, flat on the floor, and you'll notice a subtle yet steady warmth around your sacrum and lower back. What was once a rigid dam in your pelvis now feels like a fluid support, moving with your legs without resistance. To anchor this new state of safety, we'll use a discrete gesture signal. Whenever you feel the stiffness returning, place your open hand over your sacrum, right at the base of your back. Apply gentle downward pressure, and exhale slowly, letting your weight drop into your heels. Repeat this gesture for 30 seconds. It acts as a tactile reminder to your nervous system that support is here and it's safe to release. The reset protocol for difficult days is clear. When you feel the urge to flee or notice you're holding your breath and clenching your glutes, stop, sit down, even if just for a minute. Open your legs, shift the vital bone with gravity, and repeat silently to yourself, "My base is safe. I can land here." That command, combined with the bone shift, interrupts the fear cycle before it takes hold again. Now that the seal is in place, it's time to expand this awareness. What you experience today fundamentally changes the internal geography of who you are. By releasing your hips from this silent fear, you don't just gain immediate physical comfort or a more elegant posture. You reclaim the biological authority to remain in your own choices without the constant urgency to jump ship at the first sign of pressure. You now realize that your chronic indecision, the hesitation to take up space, or the struggle to sustain pleasure, was often not a flaw in character or a mental confusion, but the ongoing vibration of a body that hadn't found solid ground to rest on, and so remained in defensive suspension. By shifting the vital bone, you interrupted the transmission of that danger signal. But understand this: the sacral shift is just the first key in a much broader system of reconnection and somatic sovereignty. Your body is a vast landscape of archived memories and dormant potential, waiting to be unlocked, layer by layer, bone by bone. What we did here was clear the temple entrance and unlock the main gate. There is so much more to restore at the inner altar, from the freedom of the diaphragm to the release of the voice. A rigid body is not a design flaw, it's an ancient prayer for protection that forgot to say Amen and close the ritual. Today, you taught your system how to end that prayer and open to the grace of real presence. As the timeless wisdom reminds us, the soul does not dwell in a body that expels it with tension. It lands where there is space and silence. God designed your skeletal structure not to store inherited fear or archived pain that no longer belongs to the present, but to support the glory of life and the force of creation. If this ritual brought you relief, clarity, and a new sense of grounding, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not passive, it strengthens our healing field. Consider becoming a channel member to support the creation of content that unites science and soul with this level of depth and precision. I want to know how your hips and your foundation responded to this command of release and realignment. Leave a comment with the phrase, "I shift the vital bone and melt the silent fear." By writing this affirmation, you bring your intention into the physical world and establish a neurological commitment to your new stance toward life. Don't let this warm sensation fade or get swallowed up by the autopilot of routine. Click the video appearing on the screen now to continue your somatic unlocking journey and discover other areas where your power may be stored away. Remember, fear is an opportunistic tenant. It only moves into the rooms you leave empty. Dwell in your bones. Occupy your foundation with presence, and fear will have nowhere left to live.